Siyanamkela kule media briefing yale veki ye 25 ka August. We were on the road last week. We held infrastructure projects where Premier and MECs were going through work that has been done, beautiful work that is being done by the two departments, and engaging with community stakeholders about this work and talking more about investments that are coming into these facilities. So you are now going to engage the leadership on the status of COVID-19 containment and mitigation in the province. We have MEC from social development, MEC from finance and economic development, if you like, it's provincial treasury, MEC from education, MEC from health, MEC from public works and infrastructure, and we have a premier, we're province. We also have HODs from the departments. So the base for engagement is broader during the Q&A and after the Q&A. So you will get all the answers to your questions today. I'm going to request Premier to come forward so that he can start with the media briefing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Squesha, and good morning to MECs that are present here today and HODs that have joined us. Also, special greetings goes to the media. People, good morning to you all. I indeed greet you this morning with the hope and excitement as we continue to see the light that signals the end of the tunnel in our fight against COVID-19 in our province. Sibukhululeka ngenxa yokwehla kwamanani abantu abosulelekileyo yile ntsholongwane. Sikwamkela ngezandla ezishushu ingxelo yokuba umyinge wama-80 ekhulwini 80% kumagosa ezempilo angamawaka 6,608 ebesulelekile yile ntsholongwane ayoyisile kwaye aphile qethe. So in other words, our healthcare workers who contracted this virus were about 6,600, and 80% of them have managed to recover from this virus. Kodwa kunjalo isingqala inhlungu nonxunguphalo olubangela kukusweleka kwabantu bethu abangama-2,800 yinto esikhathazayo nenechaphaza elingathethekiyo kumsebenzi esiwenzayo wokulwa nale ntsholongwane. La manani abantu abasishiyileyo aquka amagosa empilo alikhulu. Sinqwenelela zonke iintsapho nezalamane ezishiywe zizihlobo ukomelela ngalo eli xesha beneentliziyo ezityumkileyo. The months of June and July accounted for 79% of the fatalities that claimed the lives of our people during this pandemic, and 7.8% fatalities have occurred in the month of August thus far, which is another indication that the worst of the COVID-19 storm is nearing the end. Ndiyafuna ukucaphula ke kumazwi ekwela culo lamashumi amathathu anesithandathu amawisile apho umbhali athi uYehova wemikhosi unguThixo wethu yena uyinqaba unamandla sophephela kuye thina. These are the words that heal broken hearts during times of grief, and as we heal from this loss, we have to continue protecting ourselves from the coronavirus by wearing our masks regularly, sanitizing, washing our hands, and maintaining the physical distancing. The provincial government is pleased to announce that the decline in new infections means many people in our province are playing their part and helping us to reduce the potency of the spread of this virus. We have screened over 2.8 million people in our province, conducted over 98,000 lab tests, of which 85,240 people tested positive. More than 80%, 614 people have since recovered from this infection, which still continues to constitute 95% recovery rate. We have now just over 1,800 active cases in our province, a phenomenal milestone that should be celebrated by all those who have actively played their part in our homes, communities, government departments, business, churches, and civil society. We can confirm that the number of coronavirus tests conducted by both public and private sector labs has decreased in the recent past. Similarly, the positivity rate continues to decrease in the number of tests conducted. As at 23rd of August, data shows that the number of hospitalizations, isolation, and persons on ventilators, intensive care, and high care has been decreasing over time. Most of the hospitalization, including isolation, occurred in the public sector. However, the private sector had more patients in the ICU, high care, ventilators, and on oxygen. There has been an increase in the number of coronavirus-related discharges from the hospitals, and most of the people were discharged from hospitals alive compared to the fewer people who demised in hospitals. We are pleased to report that there are no new cases of coronavirus infection from our old age homes, frail care centers, and correctional centers in the province. People from these facilities who contracted the virus have completed 10 days in isolation sites and have been discharged. Excuse me. While we are excited about the decline in the number of new infections in our province, we have been warned of a possible second wave of infection. That is why we continue to strengthen our containment and mitigation measures against the coronavirus. We are now ensuring readiness, suitability of each critical care satellite hub facilities, consolidating data management and health information initiative. Provincial Treasury and the Department of Health are putting together investment options for the coronavirus response and beyond. Part of the managing the response to the pandemic includes ensuring availability of medicine in our health facilities. We can confirm to the people of our province that at our hospitals, medicines availability during coronavirus pandemic is at 82%. At our depots, and 92% for central chronic medicine dispensing programs, and at 86% in our clinics. So amayeza khona as clinic abantu ebebeloko bethatha amayeza hypertension, HIV and AIDS, iswekile, njalo njalo, mabaqhubeke bethatha amayeza abo kuba funeka sisebenze kangangoko ukuqinisa amajoni omzimba khona ukuze bakhuseleke kuhlaselo lwale ntsholongwane. Our depots have less than 80% availability because medicine is distributed timelessly to the health facilities. Amayeza ahlala phaa kwii-clinics, ezibhedlele, kwidepo ayagqitha. Yiyo le nto ii-percentages zasedepo zizawubonakala ngongathi zisezantsi zona. This means we have the required medication in adequate supply to continue providing quality healthcare to the people of our province, and we will continue buying more medicine to replenish our medicine stock. With regards to the availability of PPE in our facilities, it currently stands at 78.7% above the national rate that we were given, or status. Our monitoring of hospitalization rates, delivery, progress of infrastructure, oxygen and equipment, drug and PPE availability will continue to ensure proper management of stock and resources as well as cautious ramping up of primary health care and non-communicable diseases services in our province. We have completed 64% of oxygen audits at 28 sites, and because oxygen is the mainstay of our response to coronavirus, we will complete the audit at the remaining facilities in the current week. In the province, we have 2,084 bed space with oxygen points, and completion of the work to install oxygen points for 883 bed spacing is underway. Going forward, we will continue to monitor SASA and post office pay points, sporting activities, funeral, and particularly schools as they are reopening. Home affairs queues for matrics and COVID-19 death certificate is a concern. We have engaged Home Affairs to understand why we are seeing these high numbers of people outside and inside Home Affairs offices so that we can work with them to find a solution to this challenge. I had a discussion with the Minister last week. We are working on a time to have a joint meeting to look at the issues that continues to indicate a bit of inefficiencies in our centers, Home Affairs centers here. So we are actually observing and we're noting the challenge that we're always seeing, and also receiving complaints from our people on the particular services that sometimes they are not able to get from Home Affairs. The previously reported flashpoints of labor disputes in Mpilweni TB Hospital and the Komani Mental Hospital have been resolved with necessary disciplinary measures underway against the instigators in Komani Hospital. The march on Bisho by a group of nurses and community health workers on the 17th August was resolved amicably following the intervention by the Superintendent General of the Provincial Department of Health. We are preparing for the planned anyhow action scheduled for this week, and we want to appeal to those workers who will be protesting not to prevent other workers, especially the essential workers, from serving the people of our province. Essential workers provide an essential service and their mandate must be respected. Sizama ukulungisa ingxaki zabasebenzi singurhulumente, kodwa masiyazi into okokuba ngaxeshanye sinoxanduva lokuqinisekisa uba iinkonzo zempilo aziqhawuki ukuya ebantwini bakuthi. Asinothi ke in the middle yemfazwe yokuhlangula ubomi babantu bakuthi siyiyeke loo nto abantu bakuthi basweleke. Sonke siyachaphazeleka, nabasebenzi bayachaphazeleka, kodwa singurhulumente senza unako uqinisekisa uba izikhalazo zabasebenzi ezidala nezitsha ziyalandelwa kwaye kubakho indlela emayifumaneka yokufumanana khona ukuze ezi zinto zingabonakali zidala ingxaki ukuthembana ekusebenzeni. Abasebenzi babalulekile kuba urhulumente akayonto ngaphandle kwabasebenzi, kwaye akukho nkonzo zizawuya ebantwini ngaphandle kwabasebenzi. Ingxaki zabasebenzi funeka ngamaxesha onke sizisele iliso, sizikhawulezise. Ii-managers funeka zikhawulezise ukuqinisekisa uba ingxaki ezichaphazela abasebenzi ziya-athendwa ngexesha elifanelekileyo. We continue providing support to the people of our province according to their needs such as counseling services, psychosocial services in communities by our psychosocial response teams we activated in our districts, and trauma intervention support. We provided physiotherapy to our frontline and rendered counseling to workers, conducted trauma briefing sessions for employees. Clinical psychologists provided counseling sessions through the Department of Education, and provided psychosocial support to learners, educators, support staff, and parents of learners. We continue providing social relief of distress support to the people of our province. Recently, we distributed food parcels to a number of our people in a number of municipalities. Together with our social partners, the provincial government is also attending to cases of abuse and cases of neglect in the province. We are working with South African Council of Churches and other religious formations to train church and religious leaders to provide counseling throughout our province. On school reopening, the Provincial Department of Education is welcoming more learners back to school into a safe and a healthy environment, as high numbers of learners are joining grade 12 and 7 counterpart in schools. Akhona ke amagingxigingxi mphathiso apha simane siwava kwezinye izikolo ke kuthiwe izinto ebekufanele uba zikhona kuthiwe azikho. Asiyazi nokokuba imali engasetyenziswa kakuhle phaya esikolweni okanye zii-service providers ebekufanele uba zidilivarishile azidilivarishanga. Siyafuna ke loo nto njengoba sivula izikolo amalungu epalamente ephumile elandelela loo nto, ingxelo esizifumanayo kwezinye izikolo zibonakalisa into yokokuba le nto sithe mayenziwe ayenzeki kakuhle ngendlela esifuna yenzeke ngayo. Zizinto esizilandelayo ke ezo. There are 5,119 schools in the province that are receiving over 1 million learners, who include over 7,000 learners with special educational needs. Over 6,000 learners have been exempted from school attendance due in part to comorbidities and ill health. There are 3,327 schools that have requested a deviation from the gazetted calendar of return dates for different grades. 2,074 will be having a normal timetable, and 1,446 schools will be exploring alternative days of attendance. The remainder of the schools have opted for platooning or alternative week attendance and even hybrid model. Through the school nutrition programs, provided nutritious meals to over 1.2 million learners who were both phased in and not yet in the system, and funds have been distributed to schools to continue with the provision of nutritious meals to our learners. The Provincial Department of Education has turned down application by 589 educators who applied to work from home, while application for working from home for 2,763 teachers are still pending. Teaching assistants are being recruited to be in front of our learners and assist teachers who are going to be working from home. There are 8,033 learners that will require temporary boarding facilities due to social distancing requirements. Parents and guidance are responsible for finding alternative accommodation for them. The department will provide a more comprehensive report on integration of learners into the system this week, and it is preparing for the return of grade 5 and 8 and other learners in the next week. On fighting corruption, we welcome the direction provided by our president to all of us in the governing party to fight corruption so that we can protect the public resources. We also welcome the SIU that we have requested as a province from President. I'm told they've arrived already, they've started their work, they've already visited a couple of departments, and they will also be looking at a number of municipalities across our province to deal with this issue of PPE procurement and other corruption-related cases that might be brought forward. This week, liquor sales outlets were allowed to operate in our province under Alert Level 2 regulations that were announced by the President and as well as the Minister of COGTA. Our law enforcement agencies have recorded 83 cases of drunken driving and 37 cases where an accident occurred due to a person driving under the influence of liquor. From these cases, we can see that there are alcohol users who are just not fit to use liquor in a manner that does not endanger their lives and the lives of other people. The law must bite hard on such people to enforce behavioral change and deter others from doing the same misdemeanors. Ndifuna ke uthetha laa nto kwi-social media yabaqhubi beebhola. Kodwa kuyabonakala into okokuba ngabantu bezitataphek aba basixayixileyo. So siyafuna ke ukuyinqanda le nto uba abantu noko bakhe bazilungise. Amaxesha othenga utywala abekiwe namaxesha osela utywala abekiwe. Noko indlela emasiziphathe ngayo masiyazi into okokuba siphephisela thina, siphephisela nabanye abantu kule meko. Sibonile ke already into okokuba imicimbi abantu ivuliwe. Kuthiwe singazivizithela ii-families, singadibana, kodwa ezo ndibano noba zinjani mazingadluli kubantu abayi-50. Siyakhathazeka ke xa sibona abantu baya kwiindawo ezinemicimbi yolonwabo babe zii-hundreds, noba umntu uhlele emotweni yakhe. Andiyazi le nto ingakonwabisiyo xa useyadini yakho nefemeli yakho neetshomi zakho nibe bayi-50. Le nto ithi yiya kwenye indawo uyohlala nabanye abantu ibe worse, bafike banganxibi nezo masks, kuvulwe iipati kube nzima. So abanikazi bezindawo siyabacela into yoba thengisela abantu into obathengisela yona, ubacele abantu basuke ngakwakho. Kungenjalo baza kuphathela ingxaki kwaye baza kuphathela umdinzi netyenebe. Iyawuyeka uba indawo yobumnandi le ndawo uyivulileyo, iyawuba yindawo yokubulala abantu, because abantu bazawuya phaa bacontract ivirus bahambe bayoyispread emakhaya, abantu baqhubeke besweleka. Siphinde sibe neproblem yenye isearch at a point when we thought that our people are succeeding in dealing with this virus. We can't really afford another further decimation of our people. We've already seen the worst out of this 2,800. We've got to contain this, manage it better, as our numbers are also declining in our hospitals. So indawo zolonwabo ubomba abantu mabuyele esiqhelweni, abantu mabakhululeke, people must feel free. People are so angry out there, people are so emotional. Ngenxa ye-anxiety. Yes, people, you can relax a bit, but let's be responsible. Let's take full responsibility, and we are really appealing to our people that drink and drink responsibly. We are working with the industry, around the liquor industry, around such kind of campaigns. So it's going to be important that our people take that issue serious. It's a very important industry, not only for entertainment, but also for our economic development, for job creation. So the more sense is into that seems to be very much reckless. We are also putting that industry under unnecessary spotlight. More than that, a national conversation is urgently required to have a common response to the abuse of alcohol in our country. As much as it contributes significantly to our economy, we cannot turn a blind eye to the effects of alcohol abuse in our society, because it is a risk factor. The Constitution places the responsibility on government to prevent that which may harm our society, and alcohol abuse harms our society. We believe that tighter measures on the sale and consumption of liquor in public spaces should be put in place going forward to curtail alcohol abuse and reckless behavior that is influenced by reckless alcohol consumption. Le nto yabantu abangalaliyo abasela kuphuma ilanga le mini elandelayo yinto ekufuneka iphele. Sizoyiphakamela ke siliphondo loo nto kurhulumente kazwelonke kuba sililizwe elinye. Umthetho onjalo ungamhle kakhulu ukuba silungise ilizwe lethu. We will monitor the statistics of this coming weekend, and our law enforcement officers must continue to enforce the law and heighten their visibility and patrol in high-risk communities. Just like other economies, the Eastern Cape provincial economy did not escape the negative impact of the coronavirus on the sectors of our economy, with our GDP contracting by negative 0.8 in the first quarter of 2020. 5 of our industries that contracted are mining, which was down quite significantly. Manufacturing also down by 8.6%, construction also down, electricity as well as trade was also down. This has resulted in loss of business, loss of jobs, increased poverty, increased crime, unemployment, and contributing to inequality. The following industries of our economy expanded on a quarter-on-quarter basis, with agriculture being up, finance, transport, and government services. To address the situation of low economic activity, we are moving from economic relief to economic recovery, and we are premising this move on knowledge generation, dialogues, and action, acknowledging the infrastructure that it is the bedrock of our economic recovery. I think with all the work that National is doing in terms of the infrastructure rollout plan, we see more opportunities as the province, but also we're quite happy with the tourism sector now that the minister has also allowed more relaxation around that. So it gives us more, and we are a tourist destination. We work more on tourism, and our province gains a lot out of tourism. Our SMME in that space will also have their life back to normal. We are ensuring a rollout of critical economic infrastructure, monitoring functionality of freight and logistical infrastructure, payment of COVID-19, temporary employer-employee relief schemes, monitoring of compliance on COVID-19, Occupational Health and Safety Act provisions utilizing government procurement for local economic development. We are considering and providing local incentives such as rental rebates, etc., that promote retention of investors and using smart marketing initiatives. A framework to support informal traders has been developed with ECDC, and incubation programs have been distributed to local municipalities. In the rollout of the FNB SMME incubation program, an inception meeting with the district was held, and database for SMME to be incubated has been completed. Beneficiaries in the creatives industry have been briefed on the process to receive support, and in the sport and recreation sector, 207 applications for assistance were received from beneficiaries. Funding for 3 distressed businesses was approved to the value of 5.8 million, saving 581 jobs in Nelson Mandela. Also, more work in BCM has been done, also saving 1,601 jobs. About 1,754 vouchers were issued by the Department of Agriculture, Land Affairs, or Land Reform and Rural Development to farmers, and further 278 vouchers to farmers distributed by Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform. The province is supporting vulnerable households with food production packs, and the delivery of food production packs is expected to be rolled out towards the end of August and during September this year. The amount of COVID-19 application received and paid to employers and employees as at the 19th of August 2020 it stands at about 2.2 billion. That has been paid to 52,896 employers and 528,157 employees that have benefited. UIF claims processed between April and August from the province are 25,539 out of 26,082 received, and the payment processed are 98,721 at the value of about 436 million. The board of the East London Special Economic Zone approved implementation of a rental abatement which will bring relief to industries located in the zone. Rental abatement to qualifying zone enterprise for the period of level 5 lockdown. 44 zone enterprises and office park tenants valued at 5.8 million. The Board of Kucha has also approved the rental reduction and deferment to be assessed on the case-by-case basis. Granted rental reduction totaling to 9.6 million to its investors. The amount is likely to increase over time as some of the holidays are up to September. This is the work we are doing to ensure that we protect the lives of our people against this virus, at the same time preserving their livelihood that has almost being destroyed by this pandemic. It is painful to see people losing jobs, losing their livelihood, losing the source of income they had. We call on the private sector to join the fight to save jobs by tapping into government grants to prevent retrenchment, make use of reserves to prevent cutting jobs, create business opportunities for local businesses, support them with the finance so that people don't lose their jobs and income, but are assisted to start their own businesses. This will sustain our people, especially the young people who have bright and brilliant ideas but lack finance and market. So it's going to be important that we focus more on SMME development, SMME support. This is where we can create jobs. You would understand that government can only create a conducive environment for the economic growth, but business must come in and invest. So we must talk to business. That's why the issue of corruption becomes a threat to our government domestically and globally. So we've got to deal with that issue and confront it. You have seen us going out, being more transparent as a province, announcing the lifestyle audit, especially in the cabinet, taking out everything that government is doing, and we'll be actually publishing all these transactions, no longer only PPE, whatever a transaction on a tender will be quarterly publicized consistently by our government moving forward. It is part of our attempt to ensure that what government does, our people also have a sense of the responsibility, and government must be held accountable because this is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. So we are working hard as a province to get things done, get ourselves organized. Our business continuity has actually shown us that we were not as bad in the first quarter. Yes, challenges of COVID-19 almost made us to appear to be a bit sluggish as we were trying to also adapt in a very difficult coronavirus dispensation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Mabuyane, the Premier of our province. We will now open the floor for questions. So what we're going to do is, I'll pose the question here and then use that microphone to ask your question, so that we don't have it moving up and down. So, sifikelele kwelo xesha ke ngole mbuzo. Mibuzo Yanga Banang Johnny Banang. Okay. Masipesi kuba ngolo hlobo. Izangapha asuzibanayo ke enye round, so speak now or forever hold your peace. Sure.
Okay, thanks, Mama. I just wanted to ask from the Premier about the SIU investigation. We'll focus on those key departments. And then there's also the issue which has since been reduced to a rumor by the health department and the award retenders of Mabuyane. And then it was followed by a tweet from Andile Lungisa, what do you make of that as the chairperson of the ANC in the province? Then a question directed to MEC Kade. Next month we should be writing Italian examinations of grade 12, state of readiness. And ukona le issue about when the year started, you said that the province is targeting an 80% pass rate is achievable. So those are the questions I have. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. JJ.
Our Mumbozo Premier is, what is the province doing in fighting corruption? I know you've spoken about inviting SIU, but there's always a perception that the province, or you in particular, is corrupt. Sometimes when you talk about fighting corruption, people sometimes shake heads as in, there seems to be that perception, you're the most corrupt person, which I don't know, but is in maybe can you talk further about this perception of you being corrupt and what you're doing as a premier or the province in general in fighting corruption? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Akakamnyokana ukubuza? Okay. So I'm going to request the MEC for Education to go first, and then followed by MEC for Finance and Health to respond to the issue of awarding a tender to a dead person or a company of a dead person.
Thanks, Program Director, Premier, colleagues and officials of the provincial government departments. Mine is to respond on the examinations and assessment. We, ever since the beginning of the academic year, you would observe younger that we have put up systems that have been responding to the successive 3 years that we have been enjoying the upward trajectory in terms of the improvement of the grade 12 results, to be precise. But my attitude is that grade 12 results and outcomes are a product of a systemic improvement across all grades. Because if, for example, you look into the content of the lessons that are taught in grade 12, 50% of them are a content that comes from grade 11. And therefore, a school that has mastered the art and skill of ensuring that their own tutorial lessons in grade 11 won't have that much challenge in grade 12. And that we have been able to deal with it as a province in the past 2 years, ensuring that when you deal with grade 12 in particular, you're at least at the mid-year, you will be finalizing the syllabi so that you are able to make some cash up in the province. We have established centers which are inclusive of number of schools that have got grade 12s, where we have dispatched experts in the context of teaching learners across grade 12s, assembling them in the form of institutional arrangement of districts, so that when a school probably have got not that much a good teacher, for example, on maths and physics, benefit from the one that we have in the province, is, for example, in the context of St. John's College, the one that is teaching maths in St. John's College, which is the principal of the institution. So to answer you precisely is that we have not been hit quite very heavily in grade 12 as a province, because when COVID started, we have already started the e-learning solution. And the visual classes, your YouTubes, and also a program that has been designed to ensure that the subject advisory section of the department make sure that packages are issued to grade 12 learners. So COVID-19, our systems are indicating that we can be able to achieve that target of 80%. So we don't have a nerve on that one. But also you would remember that at the level of the national ministry, we have already agreed that the trial examinations of this province, in particular for the 368 learners in Mabuyane will be writing their trial examinations on the African languages, on maths, science, and history, which is a historical milestone for the country and a historical milestone for the province. We will be rolling out that program for other institutions of learning in the province beyond the Mabuyane district for the next academic year. So that's how far I can go in the context of the question that has been asked to me. Thanks.
Ndifumane kamasindi ingu-80%. Kandiphathele nto yemva. Oyeke nantsi so khona le kamasindi wayeniphe yona ingasebenza. 80%. Thank you very much, Honorable Premier. I think mine is to explain the person that was awarded a contract while the person was no more. But I think it's important that I just give whether it's about a few minutes or few sentences on this one, just to talk on it so that people understand how we arrived on it. Because we started by conducting an audit of all procurement by departments on both PPE and renovation, as was requested by the Premier. At the time of us thinking of publishing, when I received the list from the HOD, I think it was on a Friday, for us to go and publish, and then and the Premier was on me to publish. We then had a second thought based on a meeting we had on the previous day with the Minister of Finance to say, let's not just publish the list, let us go deeper into it and find out who are the directors and when were the companies registered. So we couldn't publish on that Friday, and I requested them to work over the weekend to do that. And in the process of doing that, that's where we also discovered some officials doing work with government. On the mentioned company, 2KS Construction and Projects, I think I must be upfront to say that was an error. The error is on the S. When they logged into the central supplier database to get the directors, the person who was fishing for that information actually wrote 2KS Projects and Construction. But the company that was awarded the contract is 2K S Production, S Projects, and S Construction and Projects. So instead of 2KS should have written 2K and then S as a standalone and then construction and projects. And I think that company belongs to Mr. Nceba Kwakweni as opposed to the 2KS construction company that belongs to the person, the late Mr. Machaya. I think without wasting time, I'll just explain that. Covered.
Yes.
The departments that the SIU will be looking at is more education and health. Of course, with all other departments that will be implicated on the issues of transactions. As you would understand that SIU indicated about 350 transactions that they will be looking at. So key departments that have been involved into this procurement, it will be your public works, your health and your education. Those are key departments. But no department will be left if there will be an issue that needs to be followed up on the department. So the scope of SIU is quite wide open. They will have to make sure that they don't leave no stone unturned on this issue. Actually, there are no holy cows around this particular issue. The ANC will speak on other issues. The comment younger on the Twitter of Andile Lungisa. So, because people can easily say funny things out there. The current leadership, what I know, the current leadership of the ANC went through all the tests from the lower court to the constitutional court. So if he still dispute the conference, he would have used that process as they were appealing until. So I think it's just a mischief, but I think the ANC will deal with that because it's a space that the ANC will handle it. The ANC had its own meeting over the last 2 days, the Provincial Executive Committee. So at some point, I think the ANC will be speaking to a number of issues that relates to that. It's a blatant ill discipline. Actually, it shows the challenges that the governing party is going through for such people who also even undermine the social media of governing people. JJ, on your question, I am also looking for answers myself. You know, when I was a provincial secretary, at some point I even wrote it to the state security myself. When I was hearing all these kind of issues, you sit here, you don't know what's going on. Under you, there are a lot of actions, there are a lot of issues that are happening, and people are saying all sorts of issues about your name. And unfortunately, they couldn't conduct that at that time. I requested myself in writing, they do have on record, to say, can you do this kind of an assessment, the lifestyle of it if possible, so that I can understand. I might sit here and think that I'm normal, only to realize that I'm abnormal. But what I can tell you is that siphila kwixesha elirongo apha osathana besenziwa ingelosi zisenziwa osathana because abantu abathethe ezi zinto ngabona abantu aba-deeply involved kwezi zinto, but they are used more for political gains, character assassination. It's a blatant thing, it's an open thing that there is a concerted effort to tarnish my image. Since I came in, I'm aware that even before I was sworn in as a premier, certain men from Tsomo organized a meeting, instructed certain people to say, go and make sure that Mabuyane is not sworn in as a premier. That has resulted in a number of articles, including Mail and Guardian article and others, were deliberately plotted. I'm aware. I have information around that. So this has been a well-orchestrated plan. That's why the information you are sending me, when I saw this thing, that behind a successful businessman, there is a premier, the one that was on social media, I was shocked myself. I had to look around, I sent it to police, provincial commissioner, can you follow up this issue? State security, can you follow up this issue? What is this thing? Who's this person? Because strangers easily drop names and say things that you don't know in the public. In response, only to realize that this young man was just saying something out of excitement, that for the first time that out of what has happened, lot of local SMMEs were given an opportunity to participate in the province. So he was saying it in that context. Certain individual took that information in his post, look for my picture, attach it next to that, and look for the contracts that he has and put it there, creating an impression that he has got a contract because he knows Premier personally. I don't even know him. I've never met him. He's just a stranger. And he also wrote, consequently, another post explaining this issue. So I know the mischief of media is that you look for this juicy part. The clarification part that he makes, you don't care about it, even though he's explaining himself. So there are a lot of such kind of, I've been going public to say, I've been hearing this thing of name dropping, that a number of people go to government, go to municipalities and create this impression that they are sent to do these other funny things. And I've said, people must come forward, report such issues to police, report such issues in government, because those are liars, are people who are lying, who are just using names. I can assure you that there is a Chinese wall between me and the supply chain. I was an MEC for Treasury for almost a year. I left that department not even knowing how they conduct their supply chain. Here is Macheke, he was an HOD even then. I was an MEC for economic development. That's an HOD, but she's new, but she was there. So I never had this kind of, I'm now a premier, DG would say so. I just do my political work. I don't have a sense of, I only deal with these issues when there's a complaint. When someone writes out there in social media, I always have an interest to follow up and see what is going on. But I can assure you, it is clear, it's politically, it's deliberately done. It's just like people like Lungisa who cannot move out of a conference. When they've lost the conference, they will never be comfortable as long as they are not in control. So that's a kind of a situation, and it's a situation that we are not worried about. Doesn't really give us sleepless nights. We're going to deal with it. We can answer everything that is brought before us. That's a reason why we can't do other things that we don't know. All things that I can. That's why I'm the first premier who's instructed government to do lifestyle audit to cabinet. That's why I'm the first premier who have said, Treasury, all the transaction that relates to procurement must be taken to public, because we're scrutinizing. We're allowing the public to scrutinize and look beyond what we see and be able to unearth even those who might be using proximity, if they do have any proximity, or people who are taking photos when you are around them and use those photos as if they imply proximity. Go around and say, I'm closer to the premier, look at my photos. Those kind of things, they do happen. But one thing that I can assure you is that corruption is endemic in government. It is historic. It is rooted, and we're working hard to uproot it. And we're going to deal with corruption. No matter how much people will be doing blackmails and other things, we're going to confront it. That time has come. I think the COVID-19 has helped us to really give us the necessary fortitude to confront the issues of corruption. So no matter who is involved in that, people must actually account for anything that they are implicated at. So whether you are a premier or we are a president or what, you must be able to respond when there's something that implicates you. So we are at that point, we're at peace, but we see the manipulation of information. When people start using all the agencies, manipulate information to do political gains, then you look at it differently. But from where we are on a right track as a provincial administration. We're going to deal with corruption. That's why we have said the lifestyle audit must be done even beyond political leadership. The senior leadership of administration, our supply chain units in government, they must also be held accountable. So we are working on that, and we're going to be institutionalizing that system. Everyone is going to be answerable about the public purse. So I want to assure you that every politician, even other MEC can tell you, they always hear sometimes from the premier that there is a complaint about a particular tender. Can you follow it up? They will always be shocked at that time because no MEC or premier is involved in the issues of supply chain or procurement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of our media briefing. Thank you. Goodbye.
AJ.